Oh, go ahead.
Right. Through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to take the opportunity to just say a few things. So, as Director Scott said, this is something that is done every 10 years in conjunction with the census. Due to the pandemic, the census was delayed and those results were delayed. And likewise, that's why this process is also delayed. And I know because some people have asked me, both within the walls of City Hall and also just outside, out and about, any changes will not go into effect until the next election cycle. So it will not affect, any ward adjustments would not go into effect until the next election cycle. So, all right. Okay.
So that would be in the 2024 election cycle?
It would be the council elections for, let's see.
2025?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, very good. Ms. Scott.
Through you, thank you, Law Director. So as she just mentioned, this does occur every 10 years, essentially. So the Community Development Department, last year we did put out an RFP, seeking some consulting services to help us prepare a redistricting plan in accordance with all federal, state, local laws. As a result, an agreement was entered into with Timmons Group and National Demographics Corporation to analyze and redraw ward boundaries pursuant to the results of the 2020 census. Fast forward to today, the consultants have analyzed existing data, and it has been determined that ward boundaries will require some small population balancing changes. So this evening, I would like to take an opportunity to introduce you to Mr. Doug Johnson with NDC. He is a subject matter expert for the team. He carries an exhaustive list of experience, including but not limited to independent and advisory commission, redistricting projects, Voting Rights Act analysis, along with a list of state, county, and municipal districting and redistricting clients. So his team did prepare data reports and some mapping tools to kind of disclose what the existing conditions are, along with some potential draft solutions. We are not seeking any consideration this evening. Our goal is just to present this information to you, and we will come back before you at a later date, hopefully in about a month and a half, and at that time, we will request some consideration or action to be taken. So I'm going to now turn the presentation over to Mr. Johnson, and he can proceed with what the results are.
Welcome, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Scott. It is my pleasure to be here. Very happy to be working with all of you. Again, I'm Doug Johnson. I'm President of National Demographics, and as you just heard, we're working very closely with the Timmons Group, which is a national GIS kind of expertise firm. And if you have had the chance to check out the website you see before you, you can see all the tools and ease of use that the Timmons Group has brought to this project. So I'm going to switch over and first go through the PDF files that you have. So these go through in a more step-by-step process. If you take time to go through the website, you'll see you can kind of go on your own to check out the parts of it that you are most interested in. First is the map of the current wards.
Hit your plus.
Put the plus on.
Oh, there you go.
Change it. Maybe you'll try it. My hand.
Here. You can see here, so the rule in the federal law is that if there's more than a 10% difference between the largest and smallest wards, then you have to go through this process. So roughly speaking, plus or minus 5%. Although the math works out a little bit odd. So here you can see we have 2 wards that are significantly short of that. 2 and 6 are under, and then 5 is overpopulated. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, it's a little hard to see on the screens,
I'm
but
going to work on getting this into a.
So those 3 need to rotate because the difference between the 2 and 6 at the low end and 5 at the high end is more than 10%. So we need to do some small adjustments. Oh, I can work with this. The number's right there. So those 3 need to have some small adjustments. 4 and 7 are perfectly fine right the way they are. And so if you've looked at the draft maps already, you see we're not proposing any changes to those. There you go, that packet right there. And then as an option, over on the east side, 1 and 3 they're within that 10% range, so they can stay where they are, but they're getting close to that maximum range. So either we can adjust them now to bring them closer and keep them closer in population going forward, or you can leave them the way they are, where the lines are currently. Almost certainly in 10 years they'll need to be adjusted at that point, but not until then. So we're really looking, what we're presenting to you in terms of required by federal law is 2 options. Number 1, ways to adjust slightly on the west side of town, if that change needs to be made somehow or another. And then on the east side of town is an entirely optional change that would bring the seats closer together, if you think this is the time to do it and approve of that change. And I will note, as you just heard, that we're not looking for action tonight. These are draft plans. We're certainly open to your feedback and direction if you want to see something different. It is at your discretion to make larger changes if you wish, but there's no requirement to do so. So the way that maps are numbered is the west side options are A and B, and over on the east side of town are options 1 and 2. And so we end up with 4 maps just going through those 2 sets of options. So a little bit. So balancing between 2, 6, and 5 is all done in proposed A1 within the curve of the river, really. Just across the street from here, we would be taking the area from the bend of the river to west, and north of the railroad tracks, it would be the bend of the river all the way to Washington, I believe. Yes, to Washington. So in those 2 areas, the piece that's north of the river, north of the railroad, up close in there, kind of the top area, or the area illustrated or pointed to with the top blue area, or top blue arrow, sorry. We get, let me get my numbers here, about 243 people according to the census. So these are not, we're not talking about big changes. Obviously, with the city of 52,000 plus, our ideal ward size is 7,500, just over 7,500. So out of those to get to that target of 7,500 or within an acceptable range, all we're talking about moving into District 2 is about 243 people in draft A1. My computer.
On your computer. I'll have to move it over.
Oh, okay. There we go.
There you go.
That's fine. Yes, definitely. Okay. So the area I was just talking about is this triangle here. This is the bend of the river, or the west branch of the river, obviously. This is the railroad. So yeah, it's bordered by the railroad, by the river, and then by the river. There's a little connection here just to orient you that's Washington Avenue. It's this little tiny piece right there where it goes up from it connects the river to the railroad at Washington Avenue. So that triangle going in, proposed to come out of 5 and go into 2 is about 243 people. The second piece, so then that would bring 2 into balance, and then to bring 6 into balance in map A1 is, again, the railroad over to the west bend of the river, coming down to 3rd and going up west. So if you're thinking of it here, McDonald's stays in 5th, Taco Bell goes into 6th, across west here. Taco Bell and Burger King over there. So that side of west goes into 6th. And so as you're aware, City Hall, we're over just here in 5. City Hall stays in 5. But if you go across the parking lot here, you get to west, the other side of west would go into 6, just between the railroad and 3rd. So again, we're only talking about a small population, about 314 people by the census count. That would bring the map into legal balance, and that would be enough. So that's option A1. Go down. Option A2 has the same change in this area. So again, both A maps are the same in 2, 5, and 6. What A2 changes is over between 1 and 3. This brings in the option to bring 1 and 3 closer to balance. Go. So we're over, the area that's indicated here with the dashed red line would be going from Area 3 into Area 1. So Area 1 would grow just a little bit. Area 3 would shrink just a little bit. In terms of numbers, we're talking about 259 people according to the census, so not a big change. We're over here to orient folks, Highway 20 is on the east side of the area that would move. And it's a lot of small streets, but we're over at the end of University, right before you get to Highway 20. In terms of what buildings are there, because we are in very small streets here. Abbey Road is the west side, so it's between Abbey and the highway. And what we're looking at there, if you know the area, is the Abbeywood, the retirement community, is the north part of this, just under the dashed red line. So it's Abbeywood going down to Christchurch. So for those that know the neighborhood well, Abbeywood's up north, Christchurch is here, and then going over to the highway. So the line would be running down the middle of the road. Yeah, so on the west side, it would stay in 3. On the east side of Abbey Road, it would go into 1. So again, this is a change. This is one way of adding population to 1, taking it out of 3 so the 2 are closer together. Again, this, unlike the first change, this is not required, but it would bring you closer together, and 10 years from now, when you revisit this process, would lessen the change that would be needed at that point. So those are 2 of the options. The third change is a different way of doing the 2, 5, 6 swap. So this is where we get into B1. Okay. So in B1, the area across west that we were just talking about, on both sides of the railroad tracks, would go into 6. So all 500 some people would go into 6. That obviously brings 5 into balance, just like it does in the A version, but brings more people into 6, and it keeps that area together. The way it does that is then then we take a small area of between Kennedy Memorial Parkway and Cortland out of 6 and into 2. And so instead of doing all the change right here between the branch of the river and west, this is a two-step rotation involving the same few 500 people in each case. So we'd be taking the whole area across west into 6, and then going up by Cortland and taking a small piece of population out of 6 and into 2. So this is just another way of meeting that required population change. There's no, as demographer, we've done this a little over 450 times now with 450 different jurisdictions. There's not this one's better, that one's worse. These are simply 2 different ways of doing it. There's no right or wrong answer between those 2 ways of doing it.
On any of these that you're making changes on, these are going to the center line of the road. So if it would, on Cortland Street, you would be going, those properties that are on the north side would be in Ward 2, and then those in the south would be in Ward 6 on this particular example.
President Cortland, that's correct. Yes. Whenever I'm referencing street names, it is the center of the street.
Okay.
That is, when we look at different changes, that is one of the nice things about a river is more of a clear border.
Right.
There are limited crossings across as opposed to a street where some people are on one side and some are on the other. All your current lines that run down streets do that center line thing, so we would continue that practice. So the last thing I was going to mention is at the end of the packet and on the website are the demographics. We of course, have 2 federal requirements. One is equal population in each ward. The other is ensuring that we're complying with the Federal Voting Rights Act and making sure that we're not diluting any voting strength of any of what the law calls protected classes. And these changes are all so small. I mentioned the 500 people moving in a ward of 7,500. There literally is no change between the current ward and any of these drafts or options other than a rounding change. In the looking at here, your largest population in each of these wards is African American population. In some of the maps, there's one ward that is currently 26% that goes to 27%. Otherwise, there's no change in anything that's above 10%. So in terms of Federal Voting Rights Act, you're fine. There's no change in the current status. There's no some are better than the other. They're all the same from a numbers perspective. So all we really are looking at between the options is how to address the equal population requirement. So with that as a presentation, if you have any questions.
Does anybody have any questions in regards to what's being proposed? I know you're just kind of getting it for a first look, and some of the information was already, handed out, but now there's the presentation over and through. So, does anybody have any questions right now at this point to ask? Okay, Ms. Scott.
Through you, I just want to make a comment that on the referral, the link to this website was included. I'm also going to make sure it's put on the city's website. So if you want to go in there and you can play with this, zoom in on it a little bit more, and then also if you have any additional questions or concerns as you're reviewing these, please feel free to go ahead and reach out to me. I'll do, what I can to assist, to further explain. And I can also connect you with the consultants for any further explanations.
Yes. Again, I would encourage council members to kind of approach Ms. Scott and have some in your own conversations, or maybe do your own redistricting where you think maybe it would make more sense, but over and through. But we appreciate you coming up. So then I think when in a month's time is when we're being asked to maybe make a decision moving forward so that we can kind of get this in the queue. Okay. All right, very good. One more.
As you're looking at the maps yourself, if you're on the website, there actually is the draft maps page where there are the 4 options all together. And as you zoom in on one of them, all 4 maps will change, or if you search for an address, all 4 maps will go to that address, so it is really easy to use.
Well, all right. Appreciate you coming out, and, no, Mr. Todd, did you have a question?
I did, through you, Mr. President. I have a question for you. There's obviously rules and regulations that go into how we do this. How does the state of Ohio get away from those in their redistricting?
Oh. Through the president, yes. The state, there's I believe it's voter-passed initiative that governs how the state does the state legislative and congressional redistricting, and it's a whole different set of rules, completely different from what governs local. Obviously, federal law applies to both, but the state has.
But if ours are based on federal law, how does the state get around following federal law?
The president, they have to follow federal law, but then they have a whole second set of laws that govern how the state does it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Presentation, appreciate you coming up, and then we'll be in touch in the next month for more discussion and with action. So, with that being said, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you.